Welcome back to Hot Topics TV, y'all. Let's get right into the topic. No long introduction or nothing. So the YNW Melly trial, this is what we came to talk about, right? The YNW Melly trial is now essentially over. The jury has gone out to deliberate. The jury is sequestered, meaning they're locked away. They won't have any contact with the outside world. They won't be allowed to discuss this, what they have seen and heard in court from the prosecution and the defense with anybody except for themselves. They're about to get it in and come up with a verdict. Alright. At this point, I'm still sticking to what I said before. YNW Melly is going to be found guilty. Did y'all see that closing argument? Did y'all see the closing argument? You know, when YNW Melly's lawyer got up there and started doing all that blundering, I thought to myself, I actually said it out loud. I said, damn, if I was YNW Melly at this point right here is where I would throw myself on the ground, create a distraction so that they would have to pause everything and then reset and come back and get the black dude who did all the work in the beginning, get him to do my closing argument, because that closing argument that his lawyer did, man, listen, they about to send him to prison. His attorney's behavior was nothing favorable to a jury. You know, he was brash. He was at points disrespectful. When he mentioned a midget and a Jolly Green Giant or something like that, then he was like, he kept on saying a part of a story and he forgot the names. He put a wrong name in it. I can do that. You can't do that. You are an attorney that's standing in a courtroom trying to save somebody from the death penalty, right? You got to get your shit together. Then he goes and picks up the paper. I think his team corrected him. And he picks up the paper and he comes back. He goes, I'm forgetful. I can't even remember. If it's up to me, I wouldn't even be able to remember my own name or something like that. That's not good. That's not something to say about yourself. Now, what a lot of people are concerned about is this. All the YNW Melly fans, they're concerned that the state did not make its case. They're saying, yeah, the state didn't make its case, so he's coming home. The state more than made its case. The state more than made its case. Everything that his lawyer, and I think his lawyer was the one that hurt him the most in this. Let me explain why. His lawyer hurt him the most because his lawyer got up there and said, we don't have to do nothing. All we have to do is show up and behave. That's what he said. You are being accused of a double homicide, okay? And you think all you have to do is show up and behave? No. Not when the jury is stacking this circumstantial evidence to paint a clear picture. Not when the prosecution, rather, is stacking these circumstantial evidence to paint a clear picture to a jury of 12 that's about to decide your fate. You can't just show up and behave. What we expected his attorney to do, he didn't do. And a lot of people are saying, well, he probably didn't do that because he's going off of his defense is that YNW Melly was never there. Therefore, we don't have to get experts to refute and rebuttal what the defense is putting up. All that forensic evidence that they put up. The cell tower tracking, the trajectory travel through the car, all these other things. We don't have to dispute any of that. Here's the big problem. I'm not an attorney, so I cannot go into a courtroom and try to compete with an attorney. You get that? Because we're not trained to do that. Right, and they understand the law languages that we don't. Just like Melly's attorney is not a forensic expert. So in his closing argument, when he's trying to shoot down everything that these experts said and gave in evidence, he just came off looking like he's just a drowning man grabbing for straws. Grabbing for straws. How is your closing argument effective if you are not an expert? You can't tell me that, there's another mathematical equation or another way that this is done where it could prove that the bullets do not have to travel that path to end up over here. You can't tell us any of that. All you can say is they don't know what they're talking about. And they're after my client because he's a famous rapper and he was making more money at 19 years old than they'll ever make in their whole career. That's all your defense is? Well, the jury has a lot to look at, because if I remember correctly, the prosecution called 11 experts and witnesses. 11 altogether. Experts and witnesses, 11. And the the defense team called one. One who a lot of people think committed perjury. Let's clear this up real quick. The last guy that testified, the one with the dreads, dark-skinned dude, that said that Melly got out of the car down the road, and his attorney said in court he got out of the car because he wanted to take a piss, or he wanted to pee, or he wanted to urinate. Melly got out of the car and then got into the red vehicle. Okay. Him? That was their way of saying Melly wasn't there. Melly left the scene. Bortland was the one. In their closing argument, they threw Bortland way up under the bus again. We'll talk about this on another video, but I told y'all before that Bortland is going to have to save himself, right? This is a point where Bortland's family is probably saying to him, listen, do not go out like a damn crash dummy. I don't know what kind of loyalty you think you supposed to have to this friend of yours, but they went into the courtroom and they threw you up under the bus. So you're going to have to defend yourself. Bortland's going to prison regardless because he was there. Nothing shows that he was not there. He was there. He's the one that dropped the bodies off to the hospital. He had gunshot residue. He was the one that actually also gave a story that it was a drive-by and, you know, all that other stuff. So he's going to prison any damn ways. But did y'all see that luminous, that light that they use to detect blood splatter? And that light can be used years after on any crime scene. And if there's blood, even blood that is not seen to the naked eyes, it will illuminate these blood splatters, right? Did y'all see the part where in the same place where Melly was sitting when we saw him on video getting into the vehicle? Did y'all see when they turned the lights off and showed you the blood splatter? Remember when you were a kid and you went to school and we used to color, like you would put your hand on a piece of paper like this, right? And then they would splash paint around your hand, or they would just splash the paint, right? And then when you remove your hand, it would be a whole handprint with paint around it. That is exactly how the back seat of the car looks, where Melly was seen sitting. The blood splattered. It clearly shows there was a body sitting right there because it splattered around it and left the imprint out form of a person right there. To all of you who are saying that that last person saved him, he didn't. He didn't save him. Did you see the video footage from the guard shack? The video footage from the guard shack matches Glass's testimony. Glass is the dude with the dreadlocks with the red top that came in and he was like this with his hair. You know what I'm saying? And he was testifying. He wasn't being too friendly to neither prosecution nor defense, but he said enough. Melly changed his clothes, If you saw the evidence when the lights went off, and the blood glowed around and it showed the imprint of the body, it simply means that he would have been splashed with blood. And yeah, he would have wanted to have changed his clothes immediately if he was trying to hide, right? There's another important thing that they showed. When they were going into the car, everybody was carrying what they call a satchel or bags, right? These little bags they hang across their body and whatever. Y'all know you can have your blicky in it, you can have your smokes in it, you can have your whatever in it. Those bags that Sack Chaser and Juvie were carrying, those bags were never found. Now, if this was a drive-by, people pull up, shoot at a vehicle, pop, 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 and you are scared, and you're like, oh damn, my homies got hit, I'm heading to the hospital, and you drive to the hospital, take the bodies there, and they're dead. Their bags would still be in the car. Their bags would still be on them. How the hell did the bags disappear between you getting shot up and making it to the hospital? Here's another piece of evidence that's gonna hurt him. The same place in that same back seat where Melly is said to have been sitting, where I told you that when they turned the lights off and the lumina or luminous or whatever it's called had the blood splatter glowing and it showed you the imprint of a individual still in the car, you have to have been in the car, just like my hand would have to have been on this paper when paint got splashed. In order for when I move my hand off the paper, you would still see an imprint of a hand, right? It also showed that whoever was sitting in that seat, which by video we know to be Melly, opened the door. This is when they got ready to stage the murder, right? Opened the door, walked around the vehicle, went to the other side. They shot out through the back glass. They shot through the back glass. Then they went to the side of the vehicle on the driver's side. I mean on the passenger side. And they shot through the vehicle from that side. Those trajectory rounds traveled all the way through the other side of the car. Now, if you're saying it was a drive-by, what the trajectory measurements showed exposed, it said that Melly's knees would have got blown out, shot up. He would have got shot in the legs and the knees if he was still in the vehicle. Dude who was driving, Bortland, he would have got shot too, because those rounds went straight through and went through the door. In the place where Melly was sitting, bruh, the door, right? You know when you open a door and then there's the door jamb, right? Inside of the door jamb is where gunshots went. A round went straight through the door jamb. The only way a round could go through the door jamb is if the door is open. I want you to go home and open your door. This is a door. I open this door, right? There's no way that I'm shooting and gunshot could hit in here. This is in the door jamb. If the door is closed, I'm shooting, it'll go straight through the door. It clearly showed that Melly, they opened the door, got out, left the door open, staged it, shot up the vehicle, shot even into the door jambs, and went on about their business, right? Plotting this whole thing. His fans, Melly's fans, are still saying, well, they didn't put a gun in his hand. Man, listen, they did everything but put a gun in his hand. A lot of people been sent to prison and even death row without the murder weapon ever being found. Because that's the goal of the person who committed the murder, is to get rid of the murder weapon so it doesn't come back to them, right? So if they get rid of the murder weapon that good that nobody found it, that doesn't mean you didn't commit the crime. If that's the case, then all of us would have walked around here murking our enemies and burying our murder weapons in another state, in another place far away. And we'll all be walking around as murderers with no convictions. So I want y'all to let go of that. That video that showed up at the guard shack, they zoomed right into the damn car. So at the end of the day, the last dude that testified, his testimony does not match up to the evidence that they have. I mean, they have a whole lot of evidence. His testimony does not match up. Guess whose testimony matches up? Glass. Glass testimony matches up. Glass said, we didn't stop. I know we didn't stop. Listen, if I'm in a car and I'm asleep, we just left the studio. It's like 13 minutes drive to the house. 30 minutes drive to the house, whatever. Actually, it was 13 minutes drive to the house. They live about 30 miles away from the studio. Right. I'm not that dead asleep like I'm in my bed. I'm falling asleep because I'm tired, but I know we'll be at the house soon. So if anything happens, I'm going to jump up or open my eyes and look. He said we never stopped. From we left the studio, we drove straight to the house. Guess what else corroborates that story? The video footage from the guard gate and the time on the video footage from the guard gate. The video footage from when we saw them piling into the vehicles at the studio and leaving with the time they got to the guard gate. They went out there and they drove that. And it takes you not stopping to get there about that time. But not only that, the footage zoomed into the car and shows Glass. And he's awake. Just like he said on the stand. He said he fell asleep. We didn't stop. We drove off. I fell asleep. But I woke up when we made that one stop at the guard shack. Lo and behold, they got a video of him wide awake in the vehicle at the guard shack. And guess who was not in the car? Melly. Yeah, so that last testimony, everybody is saying, yo, they might come back for dude with perjury. And I think they probably will. And the only reason they're not doing it now is because they have to wait until Melly is convicted, right? When the jury comes back and says guilty. Once the jury comes back and says guilty, it's a wrap. They could go after whoever they want to go after. For the people who are saying that Fredo Bang could just plead the fifth, and he did, and that's why he didn't answer the subpoena, please go ask an attorney how this works. You can't just, I plead the fifth. Hey, you are wanted for questioning in a double murder investigation. Hey, I plead the fifth. That's it. And walk away. If that's the case, no case would ever be solved because every witness would just say, listen, I ain't trying to get caught up in all of that. I plead the fifth. And they would never have anybody to witness anything for them, right? A subpoena is enforceable by law. They could enforce that subpoena if they wanted to. They could press Fredo Bang if they wanted to, right? And they could have him arrested if they wanted to. But right now, I think they're trying to focus on one person at a time and one thing at a time. Melly first, Bartland next, and then whoever else after. That's how I see it. I'm sticking to what I said before. The prosecution laid their case out, and it is beyond any doubt, any reasonable doubt, that Melly was the trigger man. Yeah. In my mind, what I think happened was that Bartland was driving. I think this was pre-planned. They know what they were going to do. Bartland was driving. Melly did the shooting. Bah, bah, bah. Shot both their friends. And then drove to where they planned to drive to. Staged it to look like a drive-by. And he called peoples to come get him and all that. Up to this day, we don't know if Fredo Bang actually came and picked him up. But testimony says we saw him at Fredo Bang's house with Fredo Bang, right? And he had on different clothes than the last time we saw him. So I don't know if somebody picked him up and dropped him over there or Fredo actually went and got him. But according to the text messages and whatnot, I got you, blood. He probably sent somebody to get him or he did get him himself. We don't know, right? And we won't know because Fredo ain't talking. Let me close this one by saying this. It's sad all the way around, man. You know, I want justice for Juvie and for Sack Chaser. But at the same time, I feel bad for Melly. Yeah, I do. Because nobody in their right mind would ever do something like that. So obviously, you probably got some issues going on here, right? And not only that, it's 3 lives. Well, 4, because Bartland lives gone too. 4 young, black, talented guys who could have built an empire. Y'all heard about the $16 million, right? Right. That's a whole nother story. That $16 million was sitting in his manager's bank account. And it seems like Melly them didn't know about that money until later on. But I'm not going into that on this video. I'm just saying it's sad to see 4 young black men who could have been something greater turn out this way. 2 are dead and 2 are going to prison for a very, very long time. We're going to leave this one right here. Leave your comments in the comment section below. I'll catch you on the next video. It's Hot Topics TV, and you already know if the topic is hot, we're on it. I'm out. Peace.